Welcome to Namaste Today, a practical way to start every day. I'm your host, Sensei Christopher Witecki, psychic astrologer and friend to the world. This audio blogcast is for Thursday, January 12th, 2017. Happy full moon, my friend, and Namaste. Today most certainly will be a passionate day. We're coming off of a full moon. The moon apexed in the middle of the night as we were sleeping in the United States and in the Western Hemisphere. And today you'll be riding that passion all day long. The quantum step 22 rules the day, and I believe destiny is taking over. So in your zodiac weather, I'll talk about why you should sit back and enjoy the ride. Then in your tea time, I'm going to give you my sage Sensei advice about how to respond to a step 22 day. We are going quantum, and I think there's a trick to this business, that in your tea time. But first, let's take a look at today's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is for Thursday, January 12th, 2017. Well, it's a full moon, at least we're coming down off of one, and step 22 rules the day. On top of that, we have a temporary grand square, which is God's way of saying sit down and think about your life. The moon is in passionate Cancer, and I don't see pressure letting up. Let's take a look at the planets. Well, friends, step 22 rules the day. If you have studied with me for a while, you know that is a quantum shift. In fact, my old term was a holy shift. We will have a holy shift today. But the sun is not the only planet at step 22. This is what I call a harmonic. We had the moon last night as we were sleeping at step 22 in the Western Hemisphere. But we also have Saturn at step 22 and Jupiter at step 22 all the same time. So what that means is quantum shifting going on. And quantum shifting means that we may feel we belong in one place, or we may feel we're on one side of the fence, or you may feel that you're going to go one direction, but by the end of the quantum shift, you may feel you go another. Now, with the moon in the late degrees of Cancer, we actually have what we call a grand square for almost all of today. And this is literally where everything inside of ourselves sort of stops or slows down or moves into slow motion. That's okay. Nothing's wrong with you. In fact, this is my little joke where God is saying, sit down and think about your life. Actually feel about your life. That's what 22 is. I feel and I feel. Speaking of thinking, the mind will be offline today. Mercury's at step 0 Capricorn, finally returning to Capricorn after its retrograde. But in step 0, 0 means 0. Our mind will be on and offline today. And I think this is part of God's programming because I think when we're interdimensional with our mind, this allows us to shift dimensions. And that's really what's happening here. You may not realize it, you may not even feel it, but I argue that this is the beginning, a little creek of consciousness that will turn into a grand rapid river by this summer. So today, pay attention to your feelings, especially if you're stuck in a line, stuck in traffic, not moving forward. Like I said, there's a reason for that. And emotionally interview yourself. How do I feel about this? How do I feel about that? Let those emotions flow. I think with Mercury offline, you're going to be able to get a true temperature on how you feel about things. And that's one of the little pieces of advice Sensei says. Don't argue with that truth. Just honor and accept it for the moment. I think you will be led into the promised land of wherever you're supposed to be if you go with your feelings. I think today, if you insist on figuring it out with your logical mind, you're up for some punishment inside yourself. Now, adding some funky friction to the day, which is kind of where you can see this is God's plan to go up and not over, is that Venus is at step 9 in Pisces and Mars is at step 18 in Pisces, which both add to a 9. That basically means that as we're being told to sit down and think about our feelings, we're also being told to get up and run. Okay? So there's this contrary feeling of a lot of anxious energy, wanting to move forward, wanting to push your life forward today. And you know what? You are. But I think it's going to be dimensional. I think you're going to push your life up to a higher dimension. I think you're going to push your life to a new soul platform, a new level of your soul existence. I think you're going to push your life by allowing your feelings to take over to a new level of karma but you're probably not going to push your life anywhere linear, as in closing a deal or getting the sale, or, don't put that sort of anticipation on the day, because it's clearly a spiritual and emotional dimension shifting day. So today, I recommend going with your feelings, going with the flow, and you'll find yourself on a new path, on a new dimension at a higher level, and I believe this is destiny taking over. And that leads us to our daily tea time, where I want to give you a little further advice on how to deal with this cosmic quantum shift. So how about steeping yourself some tea and joining me for our tea time? Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is the quantum response. Now, I use the term quantum really as a step 22 day. 2 plus 2 makes 4. And I found that on 22 days or 22 degrees in classic astrology with a planet, that we shift dimensions. The 2 plus 2 makes 4. And so we end up being somewhere else where we truly belong. Now, not many people are good at knowing where they belong, me included, by the way. I think I belong consciousness is Aquarius consciousness. And if you're not up on the headlines, we're currently in the age of Pisces, and we'll be moving toward the age of Aquarius. It's debated if we're actually in the age of Aquarius or not. I'll tell you, I don't think we are. I think we are still graduating the age of Pisces. I think we're still implementing the advice of Christ, which is compassion and non-judgment, right? Not the Christian church, just Christ. And I feel like we're graduating this period, but I do believe that it is our generation on Earth, and particularly the people who listen to this show. I think we are definitely here to help turn the Earth toward the direction of that Aquarius vibration, or that I belong vibration. Well, today, interestingly enough, we got a lot of Aquarius I belong humming on the planet. We have the Sun at 22 in Capricorn. We got Saturn at 22 in Sagittarius. We have Jupiter at 22 in Libra. And the way I add that all up is we're about to do a dimensional shift. You have 3 major investors of our consciousness ready to shift dimensionally. And you ask yourself, well, gosh, what do I do? How do I handle this? What is my response? And that's what I want to talk about today. The quantum response. What is the appropriate response to a moment like this? Now, quantum, again, is 22, and I actually have 2 steps in the quantum response. There are 2 steps, or 2 points that Sensei has learned to always go with. The first response is when something wacky goes on, when you start to feel life shift, when you start to feel uncertainty go into this quantum shifting zone, like in the next 24 hours, you want to first check how you feel. So step 1 is, how do I feel right now? How do I feel about this topic? How do I feel about this opportunity? Whatever is happening to you in that moment of life-threatening or life-changing or oh my gosh, it's absolutely necessary that you know how you feel. It doesn't matter what it is, angry, sad, depressed, etc., but you must know it. To go into a quantum shift not knowing how you feel is basically to go in without a parachute. And then the second step to how to respond to an emotional shift or a holy shift or a quantum moment is the universal rule of respond differently. That is, in a moment when life could possibly change, the way you actually jump for the change is you respond differently to the situation than you ever have before. So for instance, maybe it's never happened before and suddenly the office manager asks you out to lunch. Something kind of weird and out there and bizarre, very quantum, never done that before. So what is your response? Your response first is check your own feelings. How do you feel about going to lunch with the boss? Well, I feel this way, I feel that way, I feel this, okay. Do you feel okay with it? Yes, I guess I feel okay with it, so you know how you feel. Second, what would you normally respond? My normal response would be, no thank you, I don't have time today. Okay, here's the rules, you must respond differently. By knowing how you feel and responding differently than you have in the past, that is how you accept the opportunity to change your life. It's actually in that moment. A lot of people think that they change their life by setting out with a plan and walking step by step until their life changes. That's true. That's really nudging your life into a change. But the moment of change is really this step 22 moment. That's why it's so quantum and fascinating to me. And I've been studying it really for about 10 years now, fascinated by the step 22. And here we have a full moon in it, so I know we're going to be shifting. But what's absolutely necessary to kind of take that train away is a different response. So in my little example, a different response would be, okay, respond differently. I will say yes to my manager. But another response differently could be telling the manager, you know what, let me take a rain check. Either way, there was a different response than the past, right? You can still get your way and not go out with the boss today, but keep that door open. And that's what the universe is doing, opening doors. Step 22 means by listening to your feelings, a door may open that laws of attracts that same feeling. But when you walk through that door, you find yourself not in Kansas anymore, Toto. You find yourself having lunch with the boss. Now you may ask, why do I have to check my feelings before I do this? What's the importance of that, Sensei? Good question. If you don't know your feelings ahead of time, you won't know if you don't belong in the situation. And if you don't belong in the situation that's being presented with you, or to you, you should not go and you should not accept it. So in the same example, if I would have checked my feelings and my feelings felt really crappy, even because I was out drinking last night, I mean, even if there's a reason that's my fault, if it feels bad and doesn't feel right, I should not go with the opportunity that's being presented to me. I should not walk through that door. It is only your feelings that tell you where you don't belong. And so you must know your feelings before you accept to walk through one of these cosmic doors that starts to open. I will say that, sadly enough, it's probably true that when someone is abducted or someone finds himself really in a bad place at the wrong time, it's because of a step 22 quantum moment. And in that moment, they weren't aware of their feelings. They weren't prepared in this way. And they didn't accept the feeling that they didn't belong, or they didn't accept it fast enough. So whenever you get into a sense that you don't belong somewhere, Sensei's advice is get the hell out of there as soon as possible. So today, if you have no clue what the hell I was just talking about, okay, and that was just way out there, well, then I'd say that's appropriate for a step 22 day. But just remember this. Know how you feel today and respond differently than you normally do in your life. Take the way you don't normally take. Respond in a new way. Sensei says your life will change, you'll see, from taking that new response. All right, my friend. That wraps up our Thursday audio blogcast. So grateful to be of soul service to you. I'll also remind people that if you would like an audio blogcast for the entire month based on your sun sign, come on down to SeriousJoy.tv. I have the Megascope monthly reports, and I do report on this full moon quantum shift for all 12 signs. Those who already have the audio file, this would be a good time to listen to it again, because I think our perception of our realities is about to change. Well, y'all have a great day today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, remember, I love you, and live, love, be.